Hello, I'm Joshua Carr, and today I'd like to talk to you about a transaction I did, the purchase and sale of 544 Grove Street in Irvington, New Jersey. I bought this asset in 2021, fixed it up, sold it in 2022, and it was a nice little deal. Want to walk through it and give you a sense for the kind of things I like to do and how I do what I do. In any event, this 6 unit was on the market back in 2021. Broker came to us and the property had a number of issues. First off, the seller was relatively inexperienced. They had inherited the property. On one hand, that's good because, they just frankly wanted to get rid of the thing and they weren't really looking to squeeze the last dollar out of the deal. On the other hand, when you're buying from an inexperienced seller, sometimes they don't understand the negotiation process. They don't understand why we're asking the questions we're asking. They just haven't done this dance, so to speak. The property was entirely vacant. Again, they had inherited it. I don't know if it had tenants at one point, but by the time we got there, everybody had moved out. In addition to that, it was in a general state of disrepair. One of the units was filled with a ton of trash. One of the units looked like a proverbial bomb had gone off. I don't think one had, but if you told me one had, I would have believed you. And the other 4 units just frankly looked like heck. They did try to do some work to it, and I don't know really what happened there, but the contractor started and then walked off the job. I don't know if the contractor didn't get paid. I don't know if the contractor, just took their money and was a thief. I don't know what happened, but all I know is some work had been done. There were like a bunch of materials sitting in the basement. It was weird, frankly. Again, it felt like someone started and got halfway and then just said, I'm done here. In addition to that, whoever they did hire did a lot of work that was not permitted. And if you do work that is not permitted and the city figures it out, they tend to fine the heck out of you. And they had accrued a lot of fines. By the time we showed up, they had about $96,000 in fines that they owed. And in this case, considering that the purchase price was $575,000, trying to buy a building for $575,000 when there's $96,000 in outstanding fines, that's going to affect the math. That's 15% of the purchase price roughly, which is insane. So what did we do? First off, just on the deal side, we negotiated a good price, $575,000, which we felt was frankly a very good price for a little 6-unit building. We also were able to get the seller to take back some paper, basically provide seller financing. We could have found a local lender who would have given us bridge financing, but frankly, on a little deal like this, with a seller that's very motivated, if you can just do the deal with the seller, that's ideal. But we could have gone to a bridge lender, but in this case, they were willing to hold back paper. We negotiated for a couple of years, but frankly, we didn't need it. We knew we were going to buy it, fix it, and flip it in a heck of a lot less than 2 years. We were able to negotiate the fines down. Instead of owing $96,000, we sat with the city and said, look, we're looking to buy this. We're going to renovate it. Most cities are a lot more interested in getting the properties fixed up than they are necessarily about extracting every last dollar of fines. They would prefer to frankly have the building back on the tax rolls and functional and not be an eyesore to the community. And based on our reputation and our experience in the community, we were able to lower the fines from $96,000 to $13,000, which, matters. The renovation, we finished using our own staff. One of our building supers had a couple guys, and they did some part-time work on evenings and weekends, and we were able to do it with relatively inexpensive in-house labor. We also then leased up the property using our leasing team. Again, if you have a website and you're leasing units, the more buildings you have on the site, the better, right? One hand washes the other, so to speak. The more units you can offer, the more likely you can place someone in a building. This is the actual budget for the $96,000. As you can see here, if I make this a bit bigger, it was a mix. Some of the money was just for specific units, and we have it broken on a unit by unit basis. And some of it was more general stuff like fixing the roof, rebuilding the rear deck, which was just rotted out and looked like heck, fixing the foundation. You know, these numbers are never perfect, but if you have a good crew, hopefully they're going to be a lot closer than just, licking your finger and sticking it in the air and hoping you know which way the wind blows. I mean, you try to come up with numbers and hopefully they're somewhat correct. In any event, when all was said and done, we figured we'd spend about $100,000. And $100,000 may not sound like a lot in terms of renovations, but if you're buying something for $575, that's a chunk of change. The financing, as I said, we were able to get relatively low interest rate financing from the seller, 6% money. If we gone to a bridge lender, it definitely would have been higher. But I guess the seller was motivated to provide this financing because we would get the deal done quickly. And obviously, if we're borrowing $400,000, which is what we borrowed, on a $575 purchase price, it's not crazy LTV money. I mean, it's, a little better than 2/3 the money. It's like 70 LTV. But, it gets the deal done quickly and I don't have to pay points and fees and appraisals and all that kind of jazz. The only third-party report we did do was environmental, because obviously you don't want to be stuck with an environmental issue. But other than title and environmental, we were good to go. All the engineering work, property condition, valuation, we're doing that all in-house. Frankly, once you've looked at a few buildings, once you've looked at enough buildings over enough years, you get a sense for what it's going to cost to fix. Here are some before and after photos. The before is the upper left, and it looks like heck. And the upper right is what it looked like when it was done. And frankly, it just looks a lot nicer. Some of this is just paint, but some of it is, again, putting in the appliances, doing the cabinetry, refinishing stuff. You get the idea. We put it back on the market with Marcus and Millichap. They put it out there at an ask of $1.3 million, which worked out to a cap rate of around 7.19. If I just use the numbers in the book they had, which are, close enough to reality, they were looking at an NOI of around 90 some odd grand and change. We were asking 1.3. We settled at 118 when everything was said and done. And again, asking prices, sometimes smaller properties like this, there will be an asking price. It's not institutional assets. A lot of times that stuff's marketed without pricing at all. From buying it, here's the closing statement from buying it. It says we were putting in 140. We actually put in around 190 because that's not including the 50 in deposits we had already put in. So if you do rough math, we put in around 190 and change. You can see here if the purchase price is 575, and then we have 20 in miscellaneous and a note of 400. At the closing table, we put in 195. That's just my partner and I did that. We didn't bring in investors. It was just my partner and I. When we sold it, sale price plus the additional charges, of which about half of that is a commission to a broker, less the note that was owed, which was the 400 some odd we borrowed, and then a month of interest that had accrued in that month. That's our net sales proceeds. We spent about 100 grand. And as you can see here, and this is not the most advanced analysis in the world, if you put in 195 and you pay about 2,000 in interest, and you've got about 100 in CapEx, that includes other carrying costs like, say, property taxes, interest, and the actual work we did, or property tax insurance and the actual work we did, and you get out 655 at the end, you're looking at an equity multiple of like 2.7. On one hand, this is a crazy equity multiple. I mean, tripling your money in a year, we should all be so lucky. At the same time, it's a small asset. You can get these kind of returns on smaller deals. once deals get bigger and more institutional, if you will, you're probably not going to find triples. But, once in a while you do. And that's why you talk to a lot of people and you have to hustle and put stuff together. In any event, hopefully walking through this is interesting and gives you some insight into at least the way I think about things. And if you have any interest in talking more about this or other deals of similar nature, my contact info is at the top there, Josh at kahrrealestate.com. Thanks again, and hopefully see you in another video. Okay.